himself in to use his leverage, you know?
So we talked about getting to 0 to 10, which is very mental, right? Very mental.
100%.
And then also discovering like what you're going to do, figuring out that niche, carving it out, and then also having the mental fortitude to see it through. Because like you said, you don't have the momentum.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. And you're not really generating money, so it's difficult to make opportunities happen. So let's get now from that 10 to 50K mark, or 10 to 100K.
If y'all want some help, if you getting the 10K a month, right? I got a free ebook. Thing. It's called the 10 Commandments of Online Training. Now it's focused for people who want to be online trainers, but the principles will be applicable to like any business. They're like, it's just
fundamentals.
It's the fundamentals.
Top of the description right now. We're gonna put it in there for you guys, and we'll put it in the chat for y'all as well.
But it'll help you, especially with that part with the niche. It's the most important part when you're first getting started. Otherwise, you got to compete with everybody. You want to limit the competition and stand out and make your message more potent.
Yeah, and it can help you. It'll definitely help you guys in other endeavors as well.
Yeah.
Free ebook, man. Get in, whether you want to get in fitness, whatever. It gives you guys like kind of the fundamentals about getting started and carving out a niche, which is like one of the most important things in the beginning.
And look, some of you here on the platform have hair. If his boy can do it, why can't you do it? You feel me? Like I'm just saying, bro. If he can do it, why can't you do it? That's all.
All right. Good job, Fresh. Nigga stuttered on the joke,
man. Yo, Chris.
Even better. If I can do it, my stuttering ass, why can't you do it?
Yeah.
There you go.
Fresh is gonna quit this podcast and start a comedy show, man. You see the fucking
it'd be funny, bro.
Jumping on. Nah, I know, man. We need to get you on stand up.
So
stand out.
So we talked about. So it looks like to me like from 0 to 10K is heavily mindset.
100%.
Finding a niche and boiling, doubling down and going on it, right? Now let's go talk about, which Jeremy, you could talk more about this, 10K to that 100K mark a month. How do people like
100K mark?
Yeah. We'll say 10 to 100. Yeah, in that range. How do they get
okay, so to
there?
be clear, usually when you achieve the 10 and you get somewhere between 10 and 100, you've officially like gotten in business, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's a game of amplification.
There you go.
And you find a few things out. Number one, you either fall victim to the unfortunate mindset that it's more than what it actually is. Okay? So as an example, I had a guy the other day, he was at like 20-ish K a month. He'd get at max to like 50K a month, and then he'd just go fuck off. Like he'd take trips.
That's the thing.
His girl would start fucking hitting him up and be like, oh, we need to go on like fucking this European trip and shit.
Gotcha.
Anyway, moral of the story, he'd get to this point where like he'd repeat this cycle, like 20 to 50, 20 to 50, 20 to 50. And it was, I don't know, a repeated cycle that he probably did like a good 4 or 5 times. Point being, he gets in this mindset that it's enough money for him. Okay? Think about how devious that can be. I was like, usually between 10 and 50K, 50 to 100, there's a little difference there, but to be fair, it's expansion of like what you view as possible. It's like, you got to start treating it like a real business. You got to start looking at expansion and amplification. You know what I mean? Usually outside of the mindset debacle that you get into when it comes to like limitations and perceived what's a lot, the other part of it, when I say amplification, you can't settle in, right? So when I said at the very beginning of what I did, I just pitched the fuck out of businesses day in and day out and day in and day out. Guess how much I made in my first 45 days of being in business as a marketing agency?
How much?
100K?
I did 50K in the first 45 days.
Nice.
Okay? And immediately I was like, okay, I get this now. I need to have a repeatable process for sales. I need to get salespeople in this thing. You know, I need to start systematizing shit. I need to get people who are constantly pitching on this business's behalf. I need to keep pitching. You know, and what happens is like, okay, I start closing people.
Did you know how many calls you made at that point?
Dude, I was doing emails. So what I would do is I would sit down, right? I'd pull up somebody's website. And at the time, keep in mind, it's a while ago, okay? People weren't even retargeting, okay? Yeah. People who don't know what retargeting is, right? You go to a website, they follow you around on the internet after you leave, whether you bought or not. That's retargeting. People weren't doing that shit back then. They didn't even know what a pixel was.
Oh, wow.
So what I would do is I would sit down and I'd be like, hey, like you don't have a pixel on your site. This is what retargeting is. Here's some strategies you could do that you're not doing now. You know, if you're interested in doing that, like hit me back. And I would generate sales calls that way.
Yeah.
I truly have no idea. It was like a blur to me, you know, because it was just a repeated day for like fucking 45 days in a row. Now, my point being, okay, what happens after you start closing business? What else do I got to start doing? I got to start delivering.
Oh, yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So not only do I have to pitch,
the product,
but like technically I then have to actually start delivering on what it is that I sold.
Yeah.
What's that do to my day? You know, if I'm sitting there pitching all day, it's like, well, now I have to add the system of delivery, okay? And then technically I'm dealing with a new problem in itself that can take a significant amount of time away from people. The other thing people fall victim to is that like either or mentality when they're getting started. Somewhere between 10 and 50, 50 to 100, you reach this point where simply put, you fall victim to like, I'm only going to do sales or I'm only going to deliver. And then you stop getting new deals when you only deliver, and then you got to go back to doing sales, and you get this like either or shit going. You know what I mean?
That's one of the reasons why
they're both so fucking labor intensive that this is where scaling.
And you don't have enough money yet to start just throwing people at it, and like getting a lot of solutions in place. So what do you find yourself doing? All this shit yourself.
Both.
So like at the end of the day, you won't do both, because then technically you're working more than what you've ever done before. And now you have to do both. Otherwise, once again, most people will just do the either or shit.
That's one of the reasons getting started is so difficult, because you have to. You're probably a solo entrepreneur, and you have to do everything.
100%.
You know, and you got to be good at all these different skill sets: marketing, sales, delivery of the product or service. You got to be good at the customer service. You know, you got to do everything. But like once you get past, it's like, I don't know. It depends on the business, but I would say around that somewhere between 20-50K, that's when you really got to start hiring, and that's a whole nother skill set you have to
then becomes the third thing, you know. And then you're like, fuck, now I got to do that, and I got to train people,
new skill sets. Every level is a new devil.
100%. So your problems technically, as you start making more money, they start to compound. They don't go away. They get more sophisticated, and they grow in quantity, right? So at the end of the day, when you reach that like first problem I brought up, like the satisfactory, I've got enough, that can also come from almost being like, okay, I'm tired and I don't want to have to do a lot more. But that's actually the booby trap. That booby trap right there fucks people, because you do need more money to make it far easier for yourself and to make far more money and reduce that burden of the time investment. You know, if you can't push through that specific window, and I will say this, it's generally a little more challenging, believe it or not, than the 0 to 10K. 0 to 10K is like mental stuff.
0 to 10K is just fucking hard work, elbow grease.
100%.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Anybody can work
It can be unrefined.
Yeah,
you don't have to absolutely be.
Yeah.
Also, to Jeremy's point, you don't want to let go of the work you've done. You don't want to be like, you know what?
Yeah, that's the other
I have
part.
to give up ownership of this stuff. I don't want to give it up. And you just kind of stay stuck in that mental state. So you're right.
I'll give you guys a perfect
100%.
example right now on this podcast.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I did all the audio and video shit myself. For the longest time on this podcast. And you guys remember when I would be the one running in the back doing everything, right? When we were live. Like, I'd set the show, and then we'd go live, and everything was good. But as we started bringing girls on and we needed more mics, I needed to use more sophisticated
audio
equipment.
Yeah.
And that more sophisticated audio equipment, you can no longer just kind of like just set it and forget it. It had to be like monitored a certain way. It's a live show, etc. So a lot of you guys saw we had audio issues, etc. What did I have to do? I had to hire an audio engineer, and then as we got more cameras, I needed to go ahead and get a video guy, like a producer, actually behind the scenes that knows this stuff. So it was very difficult for me to get rid of that, because I was like used to doing it myself. But I was like, okay, if I want to get it to the next level, production quality, to increase the level of the show, I have to let go of this baby, even though I didn't want to. And that was very difficult for me to do, but I did it.
Yeah.
Right? And I went ahead and got an audio engineer, and then a video guy, and then that's how we got Bills and Mo right now. Shout out to you guys in the back.
Big Mo,
but I outsourced it to people that this is what they do. Mo's audio engineer, so is Bill's. This is what they do. This is their profession. So they were able to come in and be like, oh yeah, I got this, no problem. And then bam, that took a weight off me, and I could focus more on like actually doing the show versus running in the back.
Yeah. And you can focus on the thing that you're most valuable at.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? You're most valuable being the host, right? And if you're doing a bunch of other shit, it dilutes your superpower, right? And you can get better at being the host because you're doing it full time. And then I don't know what most skill set was initially, but I'm sure after
Audio
years
engineer,
of
like
doing
with
it-
music.
Okay, yeah. So, but I'm sure he's even better now than he was then. Right,
Yes.
because he's been doing it fucking every day for years.
He used
you
to
know?
do post. Like most thing was he a musician, so he's used to doing post production. So
Yeah.
when he came here, he got really good at doing live production.
Exactly. So it's like the skill sets multiply because people get better at the job, and they're doing only that. That's all they're doing instead of splitting your time. But it's also a new skill set you got to develop.
Yeah, but you're the business owner. You're doing it all. You truly have to, and like that's
In
it,
the beginning,
right?
yeah.
That phase that he's talking about, where he was essentially saying, "I should have hired sooner," is what it sounds like. But think about
That's
it.
what I
It's
said to
like,
myself. Yeah, I said I should have done this
but
sooner.
bro, that's a sacrifice in itself, because like, okay, you only have a certain amount of money at that point in your career. Okay, so sacrificing that money to get somebody as skilled as who you have now, as an example, that kind of hurts, you know, because you've done all this hard work just to make like whatever little bit amount of money you've managed to get now, and you got to give it up to somebody else. That's a huge risk when you make so little yourself. Like as crazy as it might sound to some of y'all listen to this, dude, sub 100K a month, you're in a high risk position. Like you're still technically close to death at $0. You know, you got to get as far away from that shit as you can. But to be fair, fixed expenses, right? You hire somebody, what are you doing? That's
you're raising your fixed expenses.
Yeah, bro, at the end of the day, you're raising your fixed costs, but you're also, what do? I mean, you become financially responsible for them.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility.
You know, it's a huge responsibility. It's not just something that you should fuck around with and just like hire people for the fuck of it and you fire them. You know? Like you really got to take that responsibility serious at the end of the day. If once again you want to be a good person.
The big thing too, I think people really need to understand is like, you better pay yourself less instead of paying your staff less. Like I'll take the brunt first. I'll pay myself less before I cut my people's pay or cut them.
There were months. I mean, there was 1 year, man. I didn't pay myself at all, but I still had to pay all my employees.
Yeah.
So you work for free.
Yeah.
You would think about that, and then I probably have to put some of my own money back into the business, right?
Yep.
So now I'm paying the work.
Yep.
This was like back in you ever thought like not everybody's willing to put it.
That's like a dirty thing about entrepreneurship that like they never tell you. They think, oh yeah, lifestyle is gonna be great, but like there's gonna be times sometimes where you might take a pay cut. And you got to eat it. You don't fucking do that to your employees. I mean, pieces of shit will go ahead and lower their employees' pay. Like I say, nah, fuck that. You're used to this. We're going to keep you where you're at. I'll take the hit, if anything. Yeah. That's how I look at it. I think that's how a leader's supposed to move, right? Because like you don't want to tell everybody, oh, sorry, man, cuts, all that other stuff. I'll do everything in my power to make sure that we keep the same stuff, you know?
It's a great example, right? So, okay, you take that circumstance. How shitty does that sound? Right? Does that sound good at all? Fuck no, it doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
What do you got to do? You got to use shit like that for the next level of, okay, I need more money because I don't ever want to find myself in that circumstance. You know what I mean? I don't ever want to, like, and Brandon's paying again, right? Same kind of logic. He takes that set of circumstances, which suck, and were probably traumatizing for him if he endured it for an entire year. You know, what's that then do? Makes him a fuckload more money the next year because there'll be more pain. There'll be fresh pain. That's the key, right? You got to find those moments where you're like, okay, I'm working too fucking much. I need to make more money so I can hire more people, okay? Oh, if I hire somebody, I don't know if they're going to be as good as I need them to be. I better make more money so I can hire a better person.
Yep.
Well, if I hire that person, that's going to cut into my overall profit that I'm making. I got to make more money so I can make more profit and actually make this thing worth a shit, you know? And those become the circumstances that you then use to leverage yourself up to that next level. It's simply put, it's a consistent game of conditioning up. You get what I'm saying?